We want to start off with a reminder that we are not doctors. Before you make any changes or try something new, always consult with your doctor and medical team first. Chronic illness can vary from patient to patient, so it's always best to consult with your own doctor for what is best for you.
Hello and welcome to IBD Determined. I'm your host, Mason Harvey. I speak from the role of a patient and I have Crohn's disease.
And I'm Michelle Harvey. I'm Mason's mom, and I speak in the role of a caregiver. And it's been 2 weeks since we have seen you guys. So that was kind of a nice break.
A new gap.
Yeah. It kind of didn't feel like that on this end. I felt like, wow, did we just do this? I thought it would feel
just like summer goes by.
Yeah. And the past couple weeks, I mean, anything in the news for us to report? Has you finished college class?
Finished college class.
And you got an A?
Yeah, an A plus.
Yeah.
Well, there weren't A pluses in this class,
but that's what it was. And we went into it thinking, just get through it. Just pass it if you can.
Got nothing but A pluses on everything.
Yeah. So you did really well. And I was like, well, this is a great start, but don't feel disappointed in the future if it doesn't always go like this. So it was you worked hard and you had a really good professor. So shout out to Professor Zimmerman at Maricosta.
He was nice. He said, I genuinely enjoy reading your papers.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
It was pretty cool for you. So you finished that.
Mm-hmm.
We got a Blackstone girl.
Oh yeah, Blackstone girl. Yeah,
that's like the big news around here.
That's random, but that happened. So
yeah, and then we're trying because we've been working on recipes. You enjoy it, and
I want to make crepes on it.
Yeah, but we try all kinds of stuff. So it's been kind of fun.
It's fun for making a stir fry. I guess you'd say.
Yeah. So that happened, and
Chef Hector.
Oh yeah, we also had
Chef Hector.
Yeah, shout out to Chef Hector. And
he's very
teppanyaki. He came to our house and we set up tables.
My grandma and grandpa's anniversary.
Yeah, and he did it was like a performance.
Yeah,
but he cooked everyone dinner and it was incredible. Good, yeah, it was really fun. So that happened too, which was fun. It feels like the past couple weeks we've done some cool stuff. So, and we also started our fall line and Halloween line of candles.
We went every 2 weeks for the podcast.
Yeah, so we're like, all right, got more time to do this, and so we'll have to share that with you guys because we don't really ever talk about the candles too much. I think we did like one episode, but it'd be kind of fun to share with you guys the whole process again. And as we go into the fall here and kind of share everything with you guys, because it's a process.
Like we get one of those little handheld cameras and we show us doing the entire process or something.
Yeah, we should.
A vlog in the candle room.
Yeah, because like when we started, I pictured like, oh, you go to somewhere like Michael's, you pick out your glass, you pick out your wax, you pick out a fragrance, and it's so much more than that. Yeah. It's a lot of work that goes into it. So it'd be fun.
And we did some pinpointing on wax to see the new best.
Yeah, we did a bunch of burn tests, and so
that was during college.
Yeah, that was
class.
Yeah, we would sit there, and so while he's doing that, poor guy, it's like 15 candles all lit. And it's like it was hot out and we couldn't when you do
smell nice though.
It did. But when you're like doing these burn tests, you can't run like your fans, you can't open windows because you don't
want to draft to
and that's a whole other test. We did do that with another test to see how they would do, but to do an actual burn test appropriately, it needs to be in an area where there's not like a draft coming through. So that was a lot of fun. So that's what we've been up to.
And we got a new cool lighter.
Yeah.
For the candles.
We did. That was pretty exciting. We'll have to share that on we'll have to do an update on let you guys all know more about the candles. So that'll be exciting. So anyways, that's been our past 2 weeks. And in the meantime, some of you I've met some new listeners and viewers.
Oh yeah.
So that's exciting. So shout out to you guys if you're listening and watching. Hi, thank you.
Hello.
It's always interesting because so many different scenarios I hear when people reach out to me. So it's not just parents, it's also patients too. So that's kind of interesting. I thought it was a good time to just revisit mental health again. And I know this is something that a lot of you may struggle with or still have questions about. And so the reason this came about is because there's actually an article in Psychology Today. So the article was co-written by Michael Osso. Which
I spoke with
Yeah.
time on the stage at the
So,
Crohn's and Colitis
and
Foundation.
real quick, some of you listening, he's the CEO of the Crohn's and
Yeah,
Colitis
CEO
Foundation.
of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
We know that because you know him.
Yeah,
So
he's good.
no, but yeah, but and that's who he is, and super nice guy. Yeah, you got the chance to be on stage and do a question and answer session with him. And so that was pretty special because not a lot of people always get to have.
CEO of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Yeah,
That's
you don't have the opportunity to meet and speak with him. So we have met Michael Osso, and we are fans of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Yes.
And so I thought, hey, this article, and I mean, I'm used to looking on places like the actual Crohn's and Colitis Foundation website, but this was on a totally different one on Psychology Today. So
And will you put the link to that in?
I will include that. And so we're kind of going to react to it and go over a few of the techniques that they mentioned you could do for stress. We aren't therapists,
No,
and
we're not therapists. We're just people reading off of.
we're sharing this with you because
sharing with our journey and trying to find out other things
and resources, because sometimes we come across things and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I want to share it and I want to with you guys. And so you can read it too and hear something new. So so the basic discussion, we've had some other mental health episodes. And so the thing everybody knows with this disease, and which we've mentioned before, is that stress can trigger or worsen IBD symptoms, not cause the disease.
No, not cause it. You can't.
Right. So so it's not going to cause the disease, but it can worsen your symptoms.
Here's a way to think about it, I guess. Think about like your disease is an electric guitar without an amp. You strum the strings. What does it sound like? It doesn't sound like much. It just goes twing. That's all. And then you put an amp to it. You turn on the volume on that amp, and strum it, and it's loud. So basically, stress can amplify the symptoms. So it was there it might have been there the entire time, but you never really noticed, and then it picks up.
I like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should talk to Michael Osso, and next time you can co-author with him. I think that's great. So shout out, hey Michael Osso, if you're listening, Mason would love to write an article with you. He's really good at this kind of stuff. So that's one of the things they mentioned, and how stress can be a vicious cycle because when you stress and you get these symptoms and you stress because you're getting these symptoms,
and then you get more stress,
and so it's like stress upon stress upon stress, and
in other words, a paradox.
Yeah, and everyone telling you, don't stress.
Don't stress. Well, that makes me more stressed.
And you're like, well, now I'm more stressed because now I feel like
I am stressing.
Because now you start blaming yourself. Like, oh, great, I'm doing this, and that's not the case, guys. So, so they mentioned that there's a brain gut connection that links mental stress to increased gut inflammation and symptom severity. And I think just a way for me as a caregiver to kind of put in here is, I think any of us can relate to when you get nervous or stressed and your stomach will get upset. And so we can kind of relate to that brain gut connection without having IBD. So I always imagine having IBD. And
that will make it way worse.
Right. And so it's like we can relate on a small level and understand that. But for these guys, it's like it's a lot worse and it can be far more severe. And they also mentioned that negative thoughts about IBD can activate stress responses. And so again, I mean, I don't know how many positive thoughts people usually have about IBD. So usually it's not happy thoughts when you're thinking about this. So there's some technique.
Yay.
There's some techniques we're going to talk about to help you with that negative thinking. And so we're going to go into those just a little bit later here. And we're going to give you our take and let you know if that seems realistic. And so one of the things that they talk about is obviously IBD is unpredictable. And
it's a roller coaster.
Yeah. And so I think one of the things that causes stress, and you know this very well, is like worrying that you're going to have to use a bathroom and what will happen if there isn't one available, or
like you may not have to go at the time.
Yeah, right.
It might be fine. But then you're like, well, what if I do and I don't know where the bathroom is?
Right.
Like, say you're at Disneyland and you're not familiar with it. Then you're like, wait, but where is the bathroom? Then you might start getting stressed about that.
Right. Which can make it much worse. And so that can trigger things. It's not like IBD, like there's a certain test you can see if you're going to flare. It's like it happens and you don't know when it's going to happen. So I think that unpredictability is part of the stress of this disease. And
you never know what's going to happen.
Right. And so one of the things that can help is they mention that it's important if you can understand some of your triggers, then maybe you can reduce some of that stress because you know what may trigger it. So,
like certain foods. So now,
yeah,
say last time you ate, I don't know, popcorn. We'll just throw that up that right, throw that out there. Last time you ate popcorn, you went into a flare, but you ate some other things. You may not really remember. But then popcorn sticks out because you haven't really eaten popcorn in such a long time, and now you're able to narrow it down. So now you're not just guessing what
right.
caused the
You
flare.
know what
You now
triggered it.
know. So now you're like, okay, well, I can
Right.
just throw this out, and then we know these things probably didn't cause it because I ate those normally. No longer guessing.
That's one of the aspects of it is food triggers too. And so,
Just a example. There's
yeah.
a lot more.
And so part of this is you might not be able to control every aspect and learn every trigger, but there's some steps you can take to help relieve some of that. So trying to find those triggers. And then they go into more detail. And they mention that when you're stressed, your body releases hormones that make your already sensitive gut even more inflamed.
Seems a little counterintuitive.
Right? Like, really?
How come our bodies were designed to do that?
I know. Like, why does it do that? So, but that's what
There had to
it
be
does.
something that it used to
Yeah.
do.
You always hear how stress is actually very unhealthy for your body. And for healthy people, stress is unhealthy for it. So
Weakens mental health too.
yeah, it does. And so this is something that some of you listening may not have IBD and you can relate to also. But again, when applied to IBD, it's like a whole different level and damage that can be caused. And so they talk about how chronic stress can change how your brain processes pain signals from your gut, which makes you more sensitive to discomfort. So that's also interesting. That was something I hadn't heard of. And then they mention again that they go into more detail. So let me go into a little bit more what they say.
Okay.
So when you worry excessively or you think negatively about your condition. So these are for you out there who are like stressing because you have IBD and you have work, you have school, you have things to do, and you're like, I don't want this to affect me tomorrow or today or in the car ride to go to the store. And so when you think negatively or you worry, it can trigger the body's stress responses. So when I said earlier that releases hormones, they mention it's like cortisol and adrenaline. And those both upset your digestive system. And so the stress hormones can make your intestines more sensitive. And so it changes how food moves through your system and increases inflammation.
That's interesting. So yeah,
I thought
mental
that was
health
really
is
interesting.
tied to physical health.
Yeah. And so
Obviously, but more than I thought.
And even it makes a lot of sense when you were first diagnosed.
Yeah,
and
because you get more stress. You don't know what all this is. You get more stress, and then it's like, oh wow,
I was like,
a lot of different things are happening all of a sudden that weren't happening before.
Right. It was like overnight. And I was like, what is going on? Because even some of the doctors were like, oh, does he have anxiety? It must be anxiety. So there's a connection between anxiety and these
Stress,
reactions.
anxiety.
So they were blaming anxiety or his fears. And in the end, it was Crohn's disease. So once we had the diagnosis, everything made sense.
And some stress.
Yeah. And so the stress for you was a huge trigger. So what happens is they say that, after this happens with the stress response, it creates a vicious cycle. And so is your stress makes the IBD symptoms worse. You start to worry more, right? And then that leads to even more stress. And so the stress can make you spiral into this abyss, which is stress
and the paradox, which is something that is a continuous loop that will keep getting worse, I guess, in this case, and you can't control it.
And again, I'm not certified in anything with this, but it would seem frustrating to me for you guys out there as from a caregiver perspective with people trying to tell you to calm down. And I mean, it's probably like similar when you're upset about something, you're frustrated, someone says, hey, calm down. And it's like,
that doesn't help.
That did not help me. So I can't imagine for someone like you where someone is just telling you to just calm down, like stop stressing.
That's not going to work.
And it's like, how do you not stress when your IBD symptoms become activated? Because once those are active, you don't just come out of a flare. Like it's like it doesn't.
You have to do certain treatment. Well, depending on
for
how
Mason,
fast
again,
you
for
catch the
Mason.
flare. Yeah, and it's different for everyone. If you catch it within,
we try to catch it. We, like I said, when we watch his triggers, we watch everything very carefully. And the minute one of those, there's like a little red flag with one, we start watching.
Yeah.
And then there'll suddenly
if
be
another
another
one happens, you're like, okay.
Yeah. And so it's like, so I'll usually notify the doctor at the first red flag, like, hey, kind of odd that this happened, but not super concerned yet. Then if there's something else, hey, all right, then
Code red.
Right. And so you immediately start identifying that these triggers are happening. And, it's important to also note stress is not the only trigger.
No, there's plenty of other triggers.
Right. Yeah. And so I think that's also important. It's not just like stress is going to do this. There's a lot of things. And so I think stress plays a role though, because even no matter what it was that triggered it, you're going to stress once you have it. So
unless you're perfect.
Yeah. And you already,
and you're like,
all
you
the
got your little Zen garden and
Yes.
meditation now. Yeah.
Right. And if you do have this, please share it with us.
Yes, we want to know that technique.
Share it with everybody else, guys. Like, don't to yourself. Share that. So I think that even if stress isn't one of your big catalysts, it's important to still know like how to calm yourself or things you can do
Box breathing.
Yeah, which you learned box breathing, and we went over that in one of the other episodes, which it's really it's helpful. And again, from a caregiver's perspective, sometimes we are also stressed and we get, because of what you guys go through, it's really hard on a caregiver and a parent, especially too.
Things can be very stressful for caregivers.
Yeah. So I think that's why I thought this was interesting, because I wanted to see what Michael Osso and his partner who wrote this, what they recommend for stress management techniques, because I think we could all learn, caregivers and patients. So we're going to go over some of those and we'll give you our feedback and see if you've used them or if we haven't, what we think. So Mason mentioned box breathing. So he got that from his therapist. And and
good therapist.
She also had you do
one of the best.
Has you do like what do you call that? Where like validating, like where you write down.
Oh, you would write
there's a word for this and I can't think of it right now, but you write down like
positive messages
like, to yourself
10 times or 5 times in a row in a book, and you do that every day.
Yeah. And so affirmations.
Okay, there we go.
That's what it is. Yeah. So there's affirmations.
Dictionary.
Yeah. Gosh, thank goodness I remember that. So yeah, look into that too. But let's go back to what the CEO of the Crohn's Class Foundation recommends. So the first one is deep belly breathing. And that's a technique that you can obviously do anywhere.
Kind of like box breathing.
Yeah. And
obviously it was box.
And so, I mean, even like if you're an appointment, I think you could do this. If you're an appointment, you're concerned, you're worried, this might help. So take slow, deep breaths that make your belly rise and fall. It helps calm your nerves and can even soothe your gut. And you can try
relaxing.
Yeah. Try that when you're feeling stressed or uncomfortable. So that's one of the things that they mentioned. So I don't know, you've never done that one, but do you think that could help?
Like if I try right now, yeah, I can see how that would definitely relax.
Right. It's like because there's other breathing techniques. And so that's kind of part of that. I think it's just keeps you focused on your breathing instead of focused on your stress. So it kind of refocuses you.
Yeah.
And then they have muscle relaxation. So tense up different parts of your body one at a time, then slowly relax them. Start with your toes and work your way up. This can help release tension that you didn't know you're holding. That's what they say. So
I think this would work, but like whenever I would get a shot, obviously I was little at the time, and if someone told me, "Oh, try box breathing," I'm like, "That's not gonna work." Yeah, but whenever I get a shot for like the flu or something, they'd say, "Try to make your arm not as tense," and I would try that. I've gotten better at it, but it's kind of hard to do because there's gonna be a shot,
so you tense up, right?
Because you relax and then you start tensing a little bit, even though you're not trying to.
Yeah,
and so it's hard to do when you know that's gonna happen. But if you have mastered that, I do think it will work.
So I think, yeah, that one might look a little more weird. Like if you're trying to do that, you're like tensing up and then relaxing. But if you're like, if you want to get like a shot, or if like what you were just talking about, probably like the deep belly breathing would be
better.
So this one is more of a technique, I think, to just kind of release tension overall. So I think that would be worth trying at home. We've never heard of that one either, but I could see where it
It's
works.
gonna be a part of yoga.
Well, and next is mindfulness and meditation.
What I already said, kind of. You can meditate.
Take a few minutes each day to sit quietly and focus on the present moment. Notice your thoughts and feelings without judging them. Do you judge yourself?
No.
Some of you out there might though.
No.
So instead of like stressing like more over what you're thinking, don't judge yourself and stress more. Just relax and let yourself have those thoughts and work through them. And so that says it can help you feel more balanced and less stressed. So I think there's probably something to that. Someone's trying to quiet your mind. My mind is a very busy mind.
Can't quiet that one.
You guys all know that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I don't know about you, but do you think you would be able to calm down enough to take a few minutes and to focus on just where you're at, not where you're going or what's going to be happening, but just really just in that moment?
It probably depends. Like if it's an IV, I could do that. If it's an injection, I could do that. If it was an MRI or a scope of some sort, I probably could not do that.
Right.
Because beforehand, you're also drinking things and you can't eat for an entire day.
Not like prior to your MRI or your scopes, you could just sit there and it's not very
No,
peaceful.
it's not peaceful.
It's not. So these are like, so I think it's important to like what you just said, because there's different things. Obviously, these are not going to apply to all situations. Yeah. So these are kind of things you can use in like,
it's like having a Phillips screwdriver and then a flathead screwdriver.
Yeah.
They both work good, but they're both for different situations. Things. You can't use them for everything.
Right. And so I think that's kind of interesting. Put these in your toolbox. Have a couple different of these.
My Spanish teacher used to say that when she teaches new words. Put this in your toolbox.
Yep. Well, there we go. She was a very smart lady. And so I think that's important. And as a caregiver, I think it's also important to focus on the present moment, kind of like we talked about, one wave at a time, because I think that you have a tendency to think about everything, and we're always, trying to do the appointments and deal with insurance, finances, and just making sure that everyone's eating healthy. You've got so many things. And so I think sometimes it is important to sit down, just take a few minutes and not think of any of that. Just focus on yourself in the present moment. So I think that'd be interesting.
That'd be better to do maybe once you are further into your
Crohn's
journey. Because when we got home from the hospital, there's so many things going on. You're taking pills in the morning, taking pills at night. You're going to the hospital almost every 2 days.
Yeah. So many appointments.
There's so many things going on. It's kind of overwhelming. It's
hard in those moments to sit and go, let me just focus. So
like, we're going again. We're going to the hospital again.
Right. So you're probably right. That might be difficult depending where you're at in your diagnosis stage. And the next thing is get moving. And this is good advice for anybody, I think.
Yeah, this is definitely good advice.
Exercise is great for both body and mind. It doesn't have to be intense. It could be, they say, a gentle walk, easy yoga, and just finding an activity that you enjoy. And so that's important. Like for me, every single day, I try to do like a 30-minute run. I try to do some kind of cardio, even things like push-ups. Every day Mason's been doing, he has to run push-ups. I do push-ups. And I think that sometimes it's hard to get there though, because there's times where I'm so busy, I have so many things, and it's like, it seems really tough to make that time for yourself to go work out. It almost seems selfish sometimes because you feel like, no, I've got to do all this. And for you sometimes so that's from a caregiver perspective. From a patient, you're dealing with the physical health that maybe you don't feel like working out because you have pain or you have, other issue, whatever, or you're tired, fatigue is big.
Coming home from the infusion, Benadryl, from home.
He's like a zombie afterwards.
Tired, sleep in the car. Yeah. I think moving is obviously a good thing you could do. When I got home from the hospital, I don't really know if I could have gotten moving, but the thing is,
you had a lot of joint pain.
Yeah, I would sneeze and my back would go out if I ran or did some push-ups or something. worked myself too hard, that might be a little problem. But if you do come out of the hospital, just start slowly and work up. Just go on a walk, then a jog, and just work your way up.
Whatever it is. A walk is great. Just take a walk
Walks
if
are
you
good,
can.
yeah. Just go outside, walk around the walk, or just walk around your backyard,
and
walk around the house.
there's a lot of online resources for workouts and at different levels. So you can look on YouTube and you can find something.
YouTube.
Yeah, I love it. Well, it's like it's free.
Yeah.
It's there and you can find
everything.
different things. I mean, I even have exercises for people like for sitting in a chair. So if you aren't able to walk, but there's different things you can do.
Yeah,
and I think it's important what you mentioned too, because coming home from the hospital after your diagnosis was very different, 4 years ago.
You're not really sure what you're capable of.
Right. And so I
just got to work your way
physical
up.
therapy guys, he's done physical therapy and they will you'll work with somebody, they give you a specific workout, things to help strengthen to safely work out, because that's the other thing, like get moving, like taking a walk is one thing, suddenly lifting a bunch of weights and trying to do things that might be too much for you. Or if you're doing it wrong, you could hurt yourself. So I think physical therapy is a really good option for this, because that's going to help your mental health as well. So,
definitely.
Yeah. And one of the other exercises is to challenge negative thoughts. So I think we'll see what you think about this. So when you catch yourself thinking negatively, pause and ask, is this thought helping me? Is there another way to look at this? So again, trying to look at things in a more balanced way. Do you think that's realistic though? When you have when you have something that you're upset about and there's something negative, do you think that is realistic?
Like it's kind of like the meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like meditation might be a little bit easier. It really depends on how you're able to divert your mind. Everyone's different with that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I don't think that would be as easy, because if I was just diagnosed or if I'm getting an IV and it hurts, I may be like, is this IV helping me? Yeah, it is. But does it hurt right now? Yes, it does.
Yeah. I mean, that's a physical negative pain that's hard to
Yeah.
negate or hard to, but if you you just did a whole paper on manifestation.
Yeah.
And so the interesting, I found it interesting too. I learned along with him about manifestation. And that is the whole thing of like trying to think, make your wishes come true, make your positive thoughts come true. And there's toxic positivity involved in that too. That's a whole thing. He's got a whole paper on it. We can we'll put a link so you can read his paper about no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But I think that, thinking along those lines is that when you part of something that is good about trying to catch yourself thinking negative, maybe it's hard to change it, but you're catching that you're in a negative train, like you're heading down a certain path. And so maybe it's going to be hard to it's not like you can sit there and be like, oh, everything's fine. Just lie to yourself. No,
I'm gonna faint. Everything's fine.
Right. This is, but if you're having negative thought where you're thinking, I'm really upset that I have this disease and you're starting to get really mad. It's not like you can just sit there and suddenly tell yourself, no, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
You can't just tell yourself.
I feel like it really just depends on what is happening.
It depends on the negative situation. But I think the most important takeaway here is to identify when you're in those negative thought patterns and to do your best.
You should probably try to get a therapist.
Well, that'll be our next one.
Okay, here we go.
That's not
I
next,
can tell
but it's coming up. But I guess what I'm saying is if you're thinking negative, trying to think of something positive and maybe say, really think, is this helping me or is this just causing me a lot of unstress?
Yeah.
Because sometimes worry is just nothing's happened, but we're worrying about something and you're being negative about it. And sometimes it's like, does that help? Is that helping you? So I guess it's important to identify those thought processes and then try to look at it a different way. And kind of like you're saying, like silver linings we've talked about before with this disease. Not that you want the disease.
No, not that I want the disease.
No, and you want to find a cure, but you are thankful for the people you've met.
Yeah, if I didn't have Crohn's disease, I wouldn't have met people like Rolf. I wouldn't have met the Crohn's Disease Foundation when we wouldn't have this podcast.
There's so many friends.
I have things to be thankful for. Obviously, it's not like I'm happy to have Crohn's disease, but I'm happy that what has come with the disease.
So you took a negative and you looked at it, like they say, is there another way to look at it?
Yeah.
And you looked at that and you found something. So it didn't make the disease positive, but it made something else positive.
Now, it's obviously easier to say that when you're not in a flare Or
yes, I was going to say
yeah.
when you go into a flare, that usually goes out the window for me, and I'm like, yeah.
Or when you're first diagnosed, it's kind of hard to do that. When I was first diagnosed, I'm like, this is horrible. I can't.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
on gut rest. I have this thing in my arm, an IV. I don't like these.
I think like I don't want anyone to feel bad out there if you're like, wow, some people are really good at doing that. I think I don't know if anybody's really good.
Depends on the timing,
right?
the place,
and just trying to train yourself to recognize that it's okay, and it's okay to have a negative thought. It's okay to feel scared or upset.
I said in my papers, it's important to address the negative feelings before you can address the positive feelings.
Right, because if you don't address those feelings, then they're just going to get worse. Yeah. And so I think that's kind of what they're saying. So challenge those thoughts. So anyways, that's our take on it. I don't know if that's exactly what Michael Osso meant, but I think that's our assessment.
Yeah.
So, and so the next one before we get to therapy is better sleep habits.
I think this is definitely important.
Yeah. So for better sleep habits, they say that good sleep is crucial for managing stress. And so this is good for caregivers and for patients here, because we're going to have different things we relate on this. Try to go to bed and wake up at the same time each
Definitely
day.
important.
And make your bedroom comfortable and avoid caffeine and screens before bed. We just got new pillows, by the way.
Oh, yes. Good pillows.
That when I read that make your bedroom comfortable, yes. So if we got you new pillows, really nice pillows. Like we invested into
pillow review.
Yeah.
Next episode's pillow review.
Let us know if you guys want to know about these.
If I actually want to see that.
Amazing. Yeah.
I'll be surprising.
Yeah. Like I always try to spend too much on certain things, but I was like, you know what? My sleep, I was like, this is worth more than I don't need to cheap out on a pillow. And so then I'm like, Mason, do you want new pillows too?
Not sponsored.
Yeah. So we're like, let's try the pillows. And so anyway, so little things like that. So when they say make your room comfortable, like, check out things. There's sheets, there's cool sheets that help for people who run warm.
There's weighted blankets. Which I like after the hospital.
Yes, which we have a friend who makes them. Yeah. And so they made you a lap one too. So you can have that weight like on your way to appointments. So weighted blankets are actually something really good. You said that because that's actually something that can help some of you out there too.
Yay.
So yeah. So anyways, that's important to have the room comfortable. Maybe, cool temperature works better for you. Whatever that is. And avoiding caffeine.
That's obviously important. You don't want to drink caffeine before bed. And if you have Crohn's, you probably don't want to drink caffeine at all. But if you do, don't drink it before bed.
Because again, certain people out there.
Yeah, it's different for everybody.
Caffeine, and some of you, survive off of that. So, but for the most part, caffeine is something Mason definitely avoids. Don't do. But and so it also screens before bed. This is something that you do well, Mason, because you can go from playing a game on your iPad, like straight to bed. It's like, it's no problem.
And then I'll be like,
yeah. And I'm always like, we need to shut that off. And we have a rule like that after a certain time at night, they get put up, they get plugged in. But I think it depends too. So what it is, I think it's like the lights. Remember we did there was like an essay or something on the blue light. The lights. And so how light that can affect you. But I think for some people too, reading or doing certain activities for me, it makes me fall asleep. So even if I'm reading on my phone, like I will suddenly be gone. I'm like,
blue light will keep you awake.
My phone's still there.
Oh.
Yeah, so I kind of think that depends. I think that it is a good idea to not have that before bed. And so we do try to have things turned off. But if it was left up to you, you would have no problem. So I don't think anyways, we're not going to test that theory too much.
We won't.
And then we do get up at the same time every day. And I think it's an important routine. So you have expectations.
In the morning, drink my instant breakfast.
Yeah, you have that. Take your shower. You get ready for the day. And I think that sets the tone. And there are going to be some days where you're not feeling well and maybe you do need more sleep or you do go to bed at different times. Because I think this is like ideal. And I'm sure some of you listening are like, that would be great if that was my life. Yeah. But it's not. And so, from a caregiver perspective, I see these memes and I see stuff and it's like, where your brain is like awake at 2 a.m, just telling you all the ways you're going to solve all the problems of the world. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And it's like, your mind is doing all this stuff.
Yes, it's the one where she's sitting there and she's like, go to bed. And the brain's just sitting there and then it's like, wake up.
Yeah. And that's what it's like. And that is sometimes I joke like that's when I have my best ideas is like I'm sitting there and I start thinking of all these things. And then I have to find techniques to get myself back to sleep. And so that way I can relax. So that's because I think from a caregiving standpoint, we worry too. We don't have the physical pain.
No, you still worry though.
But we worry, and these things will keep you up sometimes too. So it's important for us as caregivers to also have good sleep habits within reason. Just try. That's what I think this article is suggesting. And for you, for a patient, sometimes though with Crohn's, it's hard to sleep through the night.
Mm.
You know, you either have. You used to get a lot of pain at night.
So you might sleep a little bit longer because you get less sleep,
or you're more tired throughout the day. Which
yeah, you don't sleep the entire night, but because you want to wake up at the exact same time, so you still gotta wake up even though you're 2 hours.
I mean, we try with you to be lenient, and that's
just saying because of this where it says try to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day.
Yeah,
like okay,
yeah, like all right. Well, and so because sometimes you have to get up to
do your own time.
Sometimes you're up going to the bathroom in the middle of the night too, and so you'll be in there for half an hour at a time, an hour, whatever it is for you guys. And so it's like sometimes depending on where you're at. So I think this can be difficult, but it's just something to work towards. And so, yeah, so but again, these are their suggestions. We didn't come up with these. So don't get upset with us.
These are just theirs, not ours. And don't get mad at them either.
Right. Also, be open-minded.
Be kind.
And think about it. So the last one they have is reach out for help. And this is where they mention that sometimes you can talk to a professional and that'll make a difference, which yes. A health psychologist can help you find stress management techniques that work best for you in your specific situation, which is what we did with you. And
got one of the best therapists there would ever be. Yeah.
And so she's been with him for 4 years now, and she's great. And so it's important to
fun.
She's funny, and she's, I'm happy that they have each other. And so I think it's important to realize that at the heart of all of this, sometimes there's so much you put on yourself, and that is stressful in itself. All these things we mentioned might be stressful to you. You might be listening to these again stressed out because you're like, now I have to remember how to handle my stress. So sometimes a really good thing to do is just get a therapist, find a psychologist, somebody who you can talk to and who can help you with this, so you don't have to remember it all and you don't have to do all these things. So anyways, I think that's the important takeaway at the end of all of this is therapy is great too. And Mason has therapy appointments, whether he's feeling sad, happy.
Happy, sad.
Yeah, whatever the mood is, he keeps those appointments. And so it's not like he just sees somebody if he's having a bad day.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
Morale booster.
I think it's good. I think and I think too many people don't keep seeing a therapist, but we have it. So just in case something does happen, we have those appointments and you have that friendship almost like you have that understanding, not friendship. I don't know what to call that between you and therapist, but you have that relationship, I guess is a better word, where you guys understand each other and you feel safe to talk to her. And so I think that's important too. So find someone you can trust and don't be afraid to interview other therapists. If you don't connect with somebody and you feel like this isn't working,
like with doctors, get a second opinion.
That's exactly.
Get a second therapist.
Yeah, exactly. We talked about, we were just talking about this week with his doctor. So so anyways, that is the episode. So that was the article that was in Psychology Today. We'll put the link to it so you guys can read it. But I just thought it was worth mentioning and sharing because anytime I see different techniques or different things mentioned, I want to share it with you guys. And also with Mason, see what he thinks. So thank you, Michael Osso.
Yes, thank you, Michael Osso.
And thank you to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation for always looking out for everybody. And
always there for anyone who needs it. Any information you want, about Crohn's disease, future, the past, advancements, whatever, they got you.
Yeah. And so that was something else I forgot to mention in the news when we opened up. I had my first meeting with the Patient Advisory Committee with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting. And we're kind of doing our homework right now. They're training and we're learning. And it's an incredible, their Plexus program is it's incredible. And I feel so thankful to be able to be part of that journey and work on it. Yeah. So I'll be able to update you guys, kind of let you know how it's going. But yeah, we had our first meeting this week. So that was also exciting. And as usual, head over to Instagram, follow us at Team IB Determined, and you can see Mason flipping seasonings in a bottle onto his head with Chef Hector.
Chef Hector, W.
So head over there. You can see him doing that. We have some recipes on there that we were using our new Blackstone grill we were doing stuff with. So we have that on there.
More coming out soon.
Yeah. So because usually it's a lot of appointments. It's all of our stuff, just kind of the IBD world, but there's some other fun things on there. So check that out. The Reggie Project. We need to probably, I say we, but it probably is going to be me focusing on trying to discuss more of this to get more people to participate, because that's something I really would like to grow.
Next episode, perhaps.
So yeah, the Reggie Project, follow that on Instagram as well. And you guys can listen to us on places like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. You might be listening right now on one of those.
And there's more podcast stations too, which are connected to Buzzsprout.
Yeah, I put up the link so it shows you all the options so you can listen anywhere.
There's even YouTube podcasts now, which is a new thing. So you can listen there. But if you want to watch us and hear us, you can watch the normal YouTube videos. But if you are watching the normal YouTube videos, I think you can do this from the podcast too. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
And if you want to be notified every time you post a video, make sure to hit that bell icon. The thing is that people don't understand is that the subscribe button, we love subscribers. They're very good. But subscribing recommends you the channel more. But the bell icon tells you every time we release a new video.
Right. And I mean, sometimes subscribing will do that, but there's a chance it won't. But clicking the bell will definitely.
According to other YouTubers.
Right.
And stuff,
maybe they're lying to us. I don't know.
Oh, we started a new theory. Oh no, we're starting theories with this channel.
Just click the bell. It's not that
click
hard,
the bell.
right?
Click the subscribe button. It's free. You can always undo it later if you don't want to. There's a like button. And comment. We love reading your comments.
So a lot of people, we say leave comments. A lot of people contact us behind the scenes. And so please feel free if you want to share where other people can read on our page
comments
about your comment. Please leave it. Yeah, leave it on YouTube. That would be that. I always
on
get excited.
On whatever.
I'd like to share with that too. Whenever we get them like, hey Mason, we
got a new comment. Let's go. And so we read them all. And, yeah.
So that's exciting. So that's our episode, and we'll be back again in 2 weeks with a new one. So we'll get another break here and hopefully some guests for you guys pretty soon. So
fun.
Yeah. So you guys have a great
rest of your 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, summer break, summer school,
whenever you're listening, whatever's going on, have a great weekend, work week, whatever it is. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
In the next episode.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yes. Bye.
We hope you will stick around, tune in, and reach out to us with your own journeys. We are excited to give you an inside view of what it takes to be a caregiver and what it's like to be a patient.
And most of all, we hope you'll maybe be able to apply something you hear on here that might help you in your own life. Sometimes life changes, and it's all about how you handle the journey.